GCE O Level Mathematics, Lecture 24, Quadratic Functions and Equations. Hello everyone, Dennis here. Here are the learning objectives of this lecture. First, we'll learn how to solve quadratic equations using a few methods, which are factorization, completing the square, formula, and graphical method. Followed by solve fractional equations that can be transformed to quadratic equations. And lastly, we'll learn how to apply quadratic equations to solve word problems. Let's start the lesson by learning how to solve quadratic equations. Quadratic expressions are generally represented in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants. When the expressions equals 0, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, we can solve the equation using four methods. Method number 1, factorization. Method number 2, completing the square. Method number 3, formula. And method number 4, for graphical method. So we'll learn all these methods one by one in this lesson. The objective of solving quadratic equations is to find the values of x that causes the quadratic expression become 0. So as you can see, I mentioned here value bracket s because we may be able to find two possible values, one value or no value of x that causes the expression to be 0. Recall that there are four ways to factorize quadratic expressions, which are multiplication frame, cross multiplication, double bracket, and split the middle term. You can refer to lesson 22 to learn all these factorization method. We will use double bracket method in our discussion to solve quadratic equations. Sometimes we may use special products to solve quadratic equations. Now, let's see how we can solve quadratic equations using factorization method. Example 1. Solve the following equations using factorization method. A. 3x squared minus 4x minus 15 equals 0. B. 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 1 equals 2 times 2x minus 3. C. 5x times 2x minus 1 equals 2 times 9 minus 4x. So here's the solution. For A, 3x squared minus 4x minus 15 equals 0. So let's factorize this part using the double bracket method. So we write down the double bracket here, and then x times 3x will get 3x squared. So the next thing I will do is I'll write 3 and 5 here, and negative sign here and positive sign here, because negative 3 times 3x will get negative 9x, 5 times x will get 5x, so negative 9x plus 5x will get negative 4x. Alright, so next one, as you can see from here, this means there are two numbers multiplied together will give us 0. So there are two possible answers here, either x minus 3 equals 0 or 3x plus 5 equals 0. So that when we multiply these two numbers, we'll get a 0. So from here, we solve the equation x will be equal to 3, or 3x equals to negative 5, and x is negative 5 over 3. So this is the solution for A. Okay, next one for B, we have the two brackets here and equals to 2 times another bracket here. So what we have to do is we have to expand the brackets first and simplify. Okay, so 2x times 2x, we have 4x squared, followed by 2x times negative 1, I get negative 2x, then negative 3 times 2x, I'll get negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 1, I'll get positive 3. Then equals, expand the bracket here, I'll get 4x minus 6. Right, then I'll look at the x squared term here, the positive, it is positive here. So I will just remain this term to be at the left hand side. And I want to make the right hand side to be 0. So I have to move these two terms to the left hand side. Okay, so now what happened is negative 2x minus 6x, I'll get negative 8x. And this is just copy down, 3x plus 3, and equals to 4x minus 6. Then 4x squared minus 12x, because minus 8x minus 4x, I'll get negative 12x. And 3 plus 6, I'll get 9. Then equal to 0. So we have moved these two terms to the left hand side. Then this will be the simplest form, 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 equal to 0. And from here, we can factorize it. As you can see, it is in the form of x squared plus 2ab, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared equal to 0. So when we factorize it, we get 2x minus 3 squared equal to 0. So this is a special product form. Okay, from here, that means 2x minus 3 equal to 0. Okay, because when we move square root 0, we still get 0. And solve this equation, we get x equals 3 over 2. So this will be the solution for part B. Now move on to part C. 5x times 2x minus 1 equals 2 times 9 minus 4x. Again, we have to expand the brackets here. For here, I will get 10x squared minus 5x equals 18 minus 8x. As I see that the x squared term is positive at the left hand side, so I will remain it at the left hand side. That means I have to move these two terms to the left hand side to make the right hand side to be 0. So if I move it to the left hand side, then I will get 10x squared minus 5x plus 8x minus 18 equals 0. Simplify, further I will get 10x squared plus 3x minus 18 equals to 0. So from here, I can start to factorize. Okay, let's use the double bracket method. Write down the two brackets here. And 2x times 5x, I'll get 10x squared. Followed by 3 times 6, 18. And I put the sign positive here and negative sign here. Because as you can see from here, positive 3 times 5x, I'll get 15x. Negative 6 times 2x, I get negative 12x. So negative 12x plus 15x, I'll get positive 3x here. Right, and from here, again, two numbers multiplied together give us 0. Either the first number is 0 or the second number is 0. So 2x plus 3 equal to 0 or 5x minus 6 equal to 0. So solve this equation. 2x equal to negative 3, x is negative 3 over 2. So for this one, 5x equals 6, x is 6 over 5. So this is the solution. Okay, as you can see from here, right, we have for the A, we have two answers for A, one answer for B, and two answers for C. So as I mentioned previously, you can also get one answer or two answers or no answer. Now you can try this example yourself. So solve the following equations using factorization method. A, 10x squared plus 1 equals 4 minus 13x. B, x plus 2 times x plus 3 equals 2 times 13 plus 2x. And C, 2 times 2x minus 1 squared minus 2x minus 1 minus 15 equals 0. So you can pause the video and try to solve it yourself. Okay, now here's the solution for A. 10x squared plus 1 equals 4 minus 13x. And as you can see from here, the x squared term here, it is positive at the left hand side. So I will just keep it at the left hand side. So that means I have to move these two terms to the left hand side. So it will become 10x squared plus 13x, because I moved this negative 13x to the left hand side. And then plus 1, which is this one, and minus 4 equals 0. So simplify, I will get 10x squared plus 13x minus 3 equal to 0. Factorize using double bracket method. So it will be 2x times 5x, which is 10x squared. Then 3 times 1. 3 times 1, we will get 3. And then positive and negative here. Okay, because like over here, 3 times 5, I'll get 15x. Then minus 2x, I'll get 13x. Then two numbers multiplied together, I'll get 0. That means 2x plus 3 equal to 0, or 5x minus 1 equals to 0. So solve these two equations separately. 2x is negative 3, then x is negative 3 over 2. So 5x equals to 1, x is 1 over 5. So this will be the solution for part A. For B, so we have to expand the brackets here. First, we get x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 6. That equals 26 plus 4x. So as I can see that the x squared term is positive at the left hand side, so I will keep it at the left hand side, and I move these two terms to the left hand side so that the right hand side to be 0. Alright, so simplify first, we get x squared plus 5x, then plus 6 equals 26 plus 4x. Then move these two terms to the left hand side, x squared plus 5x minus 4x plus 6 minus 26 equals 0. So simplify, I will get x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. Okay, so now I can factorize this one using the double bracket method. So two brackets here, x times x, x squared, and then 4 times 5, we get 20. So I put a negative here and positive here, so that negative 4 times x is negative 4x, 5 times x is positive 5x. So 5x minus 4x, I'll get positive x here. Okay, then x minus 4 equals to 0, or x plus 5 equals to 0. Solve these two equations separately, x equals to 4 or x equals to negative 5. So these are the answers for part B. For C, 2 times 2x minus 1 square minus 2x minus 1 minus 15 equals to 0. So you might attempt to extend or expand 2x minus 1 square here first, or maybe and then remove the bracket here, become minus 2x plus 1. But you don't have to do that. What you can do is let 2x minus 1 equals to a. As you can see, 2x minus 1 repeated here, right? So maybe we let it to be a first. Then this equation become 2a square minus a minus 15 equals to 0. So now this equation is actually still in quadratic form. So we can factorize this quadratic expression here. Write down the two brackets. Then a times 2a, I will get 2a square. And for 15, so 3 times 5, I get negative 15. Then I put a negative sign here and positive sign here, because negative 3 times 2a, I will get negative 6a. 5 times a, positive 5a. So negative 6a plus 5a, I will get negative a here. Alright, then from here, two numbers multiplied together get a 0, means a minus 3 equals to 0, or 2a plus 5 equals to 0. Solve these two equations separately, a equals to 3, or 2a equals to negative 5, a equals to negative 5 over 2. But we don't want to find the value of a, we want to find the value of x. So a is 2x minus 1, so substitute back, 2x minus 1 equals to 3, so 2x is 4, x will be equals to 2. Same as this one, right? 2x minus 1 equals to negative 5 over 2, so 2x is negative 3 over 2, means x is negative 3 quarter. So this will be the answer for C. Okay, now let's learn how to express quadratic equations in completing the square form. Recall this formula, which is from special products that we have learned in the previous lecture. X plus b squared, it is equals to x squared plus 2bx plus b squared. Now, from this equation, we make x squared plus 2bx the subject. Hence, the equation becomes x squared plus 2bx equals bracket x plus b squared minus b squared. So if you ask me how to get this equation, actually from this original equation, we just move this plus b squared to the left hand side. Okay, so from plus becomes minus, and this term x squared plus 2bx will be the subject. Okay, it will be x squared plus 2bx equals x plus b squared minus b squared. Now from this equation, let's compare the constant for the left hand side. So what we get is 2b, and the constant for the right hand side. So we have this positive b and negative b. So what observation can we see from here? We can see that the constant from the left hand side is 2 times the constants from the right hand side. Okay, so this is this 2b, then this is b, this is negative b. We can rewrite this equation to b. So from here, as you can see, from 2b, I write it to become b. Hence, b becomes b over 2 minus b becomes minus bracket b over 2 square. Okay, now take a note of the coefficient of the x squared here, make sure that the coefficient of this x squared is 1. If the coefficient of x squared is not 1, then we need to factorize the coefficient throughout the whole expression. Okay, so do remember this equation or formula that we can use, right, to express quadratic expressions in the completing the square form. Let's see example 2 and learn how we can apply the formula to convert the quadratic equations in the completing the square form. So the question is, express each of the following in the form x plus h squared plus k, where k and h are constants. A. X squared minus 4x plus 3. B. 4x minus 3 times 2x plus 5. C. X times x minus 3 plus 5. So here's the solution for A. So x squared minus 4x plus 3. So I will first check the coefficient of the x squared here. So this is 1. I don't have to factorize anything here. So I will just go ahead and look at the first two terms. We have x squared minus 4x. Then from here we apply the formula, okay, which is two brackets here. The first is the big bracket and square minus smaller bracket square. And the constant term I just copy down plus 3. So I will first write the x here because this is x squared, then this will be x. After that, this is 4, and don't forget with the minus. So minus 4, and I divide by 2 right here. Similarly, I'll write in the second bracket minus 4 over 2. So after that, I will simplify this expression here. So 4 over 2 is 2, it becomes x minus 2 square minus bracket negative 2 square plus 3. Then further simplify, so this negative 2 square plus 3, I'll get negative 1. And this is the answer for A. For B, 4x minus 3 times 2x plus 5. So what we have to do is we have to expand the bracket. Okay, so 4x times 2x, I'll get 8x squared. Then 4x times 5, I'll get plus 20x minus 3 times 2x, I'll get negative 6x. Negative 3 plus 5, I'll get negative 15. So next, I will simplify first, right? So because 20x and minus 6x, they are like terms, so it becomes 8x squared plus 14x minus 15. So from here, I will check that the coefficient of x squared is not 1 but is 8. So I have to factorize it. So this is what it becomes after I factorize. So it will be 8, then bracket x squared plus 14 over 8x. Okay, close the bracket, then minus 15. So from here, I can start to, I can simplify first. It becomes 8 times x squared plus 7 over 4x minus 15. And we can perform the completing the square now, right? We look at these two terms, x squared plus 7 over 4x. Hence it becomes, okay, the constancy copy down 8. Then bigger bracket here. And big bracket square minus small bracket square here. So start then minus 15. So the first bracket I will write it as x plus 7 over 8. Okay, because 7 over 4 divided by 2, I will get 7 over 8. The smaller bracket also 7 over 8. After that, I can simplify or expand the bracket first, right? 8 times x plus 7 over 8 square minus 8 times 49 over 64, then minus 15, because 7 over 8 square will be 49 over 64. Alright, then we can calculate, right, the value for the second term here. We have 8 bracket x plus 7 over 8 square minus 49 over 8 minus 15. So group them together. The constant terms, we have 8 times x plus 7 over 8 square minus 169 over 8. So this will be the answer for B. Then for C, x times x minus 3 plus 5. So the first thing we have to do is expand the bracket. Then we get x squared minus 3x plus 5. Alright, and look at the coefficient of the x squared here. It is 1. So we just need to apply the formula here. Big bracket square minus small bracket square, and then plus the constant term 5. So the first bracket I'll write x minus 3 over 2 because the middle term is negative 3 x, right? So divide by 2. The second bracket also negative 3 over 2, then square. Next, just expand the bracket for the middle term. It will become x minus 3 over 2 square minus 9 over 4 plus 3, and calculate the constant term. We'll have x minus 2 square plus 3 over 4. So this will be the answer for C. Let's try this example yourself. Express each of the following in the form x plus h square plus k, where k and h are constants. A. X squared minus 6x plus 5. B. X minus 2 times 3x plus 1. And C. X times x plus 4 minus 7. So here's the solution. For A, x squared minus 6x plus 5. So first check the coefficient of the x squared. So for this case is 1. So we can just go ahead to apply the formula. Look at the first two terms. And when apply the formula, we have two brackets here. And then we copy the constant at the back, plus 5. So for the first bracket, I'll write x and then minus the 6 over 2. For the second bracket, it will be negative 6 over 2. So the next step I will do is simplify this expression. It becomes x minus 3 square minus negative 3 square plus 5. Then group the like terms together, the constant terms there, we will get x minus 3 square minus 4. So this will be the answer for A. Then for B, x minus 2 times 3x plus 1. So the first step we have to do is to expand the bracket here. So x times 3x, we get 3x squared. Then x times 1, we get plus x. Negative 2 times 3x, we get minus 6x. Then negative 2 times 1, we get negative 2. So group the like terms together, 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. Next, I will check the coefficient of the x squared. So for this case, this is not 1, it is 3. So I have to factorize 3 first. Then it becomes 3 bracket x squared minus 5 over 3x, then minus 2. Next, we can perform the completing the square, which it becomes 3, then bracket. So we have two brackets here. So the big bracket square minus the small bracket square, and copy the constant at the back, minus 2. So for the first bracket, I will fill up with x minus 5 over 6, and the second bracket, it will be negative 5 over 6. Then expand and simplify. We will have 3 times x minus 5 over 6 square minus 3 times 25 over 36 minus 2. So simplify further, we have 3 times x minus 5 over 6 square minus 25 over 12 minus 2. Then group the constant term together. We will get 3 times x minus 5 over 6 square minus 49 over 12. So this will be the answer for B. Then move on to C. X times x plus 4 minus 7. First step, expand the brackets, we'll get x squared plus 4x minus 7. Then check the coefficient of x squared. So for this case, it is 1. So we can just go ahead and apply the formula, the two brackets here, and then minus 7. So the first bracket, I will fill up with x, then plus 4 over 2. Second bracket will be just 4 over 2. So simplifying, we'll get x plus 2 square minus 2 square minus 7. Group the like terms together, we'll have x plus 2 square minus 11. So this will be the answer for C. We have learned how to express quadratic expressions in completing the square form. Now, let's see how we can use completing the square method to solve quadratic equations. In the previous section, we know that quadratic expressions can be expressed in the form of x plus h squared plus k, where h and k are constants. Hence, when solve a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, first we convert the equation in complete the square form, which becomes x plus h squared plus k equal to 0. Then we make x the subject of the equation, so x plus h squared equals negative k. So x plus h equals plus minus square root of negative k. There are two possible answers, which is the first one is x equals negative h plus square root of negative k, or x equals negative h minus square root of negative k. There are three possible results that we might get. If negative k is greater than 0, then square root of negative k will be positive, greater than 0. We'll get two distinct roots. Second possible result is if negative k equal to 0, then square root of negative k equal to 0, and we'll get one equal root. If negative k is less than 0, then square root of negative k has no solution. The equation has no real roots. Let's take a look at example 3. Solve the following equations by completing the square. A. X minus 2 times x plus 3 equals 2x. B. X times 3x plus 2 equals 5. And C. X times x plus 1 equals 2 over 3 times x squared minus 1. So here's the solution for A. X minus 2 times x plus 3 equals 2x. First, we'll expand the bracket. We'll get x squared plus x minus 6 equals 2x. Then we move the 2x to the left-hand side so that the right-hand side will be equals 0. Then equation becomes x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. So from here, we can start to perform the completing the square. So first check the coefficient of x squared. Now for this case is 1, so we don't have to do anything, and we just apply the formula for the completing the square. Then we will get x minus half square minus bracket negative half square minus 6 equals 0. Then we further simplify this equation. We will have x minus half square minus 25 over 4 equals 0. So move the 25 over 4 to the right side, it becomes positive. Then square root the whole thing, we'll get x minus half equals plus minus square root of 25 over 4. Or we have two answers here, x minus half equals 5 over 2, or x minus half equals negative 5 over 2. So x equals 3 or x equals negative 2. So this is the solution for A. Then for B, x times 3x plus 2 equals 5. First expand the bracket and move the 5 to the left hand side. So we'll get 3x squared plus 2x equal minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so before I want to perform the completing the square, I find that the coefficient of x squared for this case is 3, not 1. So what I have to do is I'll divide 3 for both sides, and I will get x squared plus 2 over 3x minus 5 over 3 equals 0. Now the coefficient of x squared is 1. I can apply the formula for the completing the square, and I will get x plus 1 over 3 square minus 1 over 3 square minus 5 over 3 equals 0. So from here we simplify this equation. We'll get x plus 1 over 3 square equals 16 over 9. So square root the 16 over 9, we'll get x plus 1 over 3 equals plus minus square root of 16 over 9. So we have two answers here. X plus 1 over 3 equals 4 over 3, or x plus 1 over 3 equals negative 4 over 3. So the result will be x equals 1 or x equals negative 5 over 3. So this is the answer for B. For C, x times x plus 1 equals 2 over 3, bracket x squared minus 1. So first step is we'll expand the bracket for both sides. I will get x squared plus x equals 2 over 3x squared minus 2 over 3. Alright, so I will move the two terms for the right hand side to the left hand side so that the right hand side equal to 0. So the equation becomes 1 over 3 x squared plus x plus 2 over 3 equals 0. So from here I find that the coefficient of x squared is not 1, which is 1 over 3. So I have to multiply 3 for both sides, and I will get x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. And now the coefficient of x squared is equal 1, so we can apply the completing the square formula, and we'll get x plus 3 over 2 square minus 3 over 2 square plus 2 equals 0. So for the simplify, we'll get x plus 3 over 2 square equals 1 quarter. So x plus 3 over 2 equals plus minus square root of 1 quarter, and we'll have two answers. X plus 3 over 2 equals half, or x plus 3 over 2 equals negative half. So solve these equations. I will get x equals to negative 1, or x equals -2. So this will be the answer for C. Now you can try this example yourself. Solve the following equations by completing the square. A. X squared minus 9 equals 8x. B. X minus 4 square equals 20x. And C. X minus 1 times x plus 8 equals x times 5x plus 9. You can pause the video and try to solve it yourself. Alright, here's the solution. For A, x squared minus 9 equals 8x. So I'll move the 8x to the left hand side so that the right hand side is equals 0. Then the equation becomes x squared minus 8x minus 9 equals 0. Then I check the coefficient of x squared. For this case, it is 1. So I don't have to do anything. I will just go ahead apply the quadratic, completing the square formula. So equation becomes x minus 8 over 2 square minus negative 8 over 2 square minus 9 equals 0. Then simplify this equation. I will get x minus 4 square equals 25. Solve this equation. I will have x minus 4 equals plus minus square root of 25, which means I have two answers for this case. X equals 4 plus square root of 25, or x equals 4 minus square root of 25. And the final answer will be x equals 9 or x equals -1. For B, x minus 4 square equals 20x. So the first thing I will do is I will expand the bracket by applying the special product rule. So x minus 4 square will get x square minus 8x plus 16 equals 20x. Then I'll move the 20x to the left hand side so that the right hand side equal to 0. And the equation becomes x square minus 28x plus 16 equals 0. Then I check the coefficient of x squared. For this case, it is 1. Then I don't have to do anything. I just apply the completing the square formula. I will get x minus 28 over 2 square minus negative 28 over 2 square plus 16 equals 0. So simplify this equation. I will get x minus 14 square equals to 180. So solve it. I will get x minus 14 equals plus minus square root of 180. Then I will get two answers. The first answer is x equals 14 plus square root of 180, or x equals 14 minus square root of 180. And the result will be x equals 27.4 rounded up to 3SF, or x equals 0.584 rounded off to 3SF. So for C, x minus 1 times x plus 8 equals x times 5x plus 9. So the very first step I have to do is, of course, is to expand the bracket. So I will get x squared plus 7x minus 8 equals 5x squared plus 9x. Then from here, I can see that the 5x squared is at the right hand side and x squared is at the left hand side. So I have to bring all the terms from the left hand side to the right hand side so that the x squared term will be positive and the left hand side will be 0. So the equation becomes 0 equals 4x squared plus 2x plus 8. Now I check the coefficient of x squared. So for this case, it is not 1, but it's 4. So what I have to do is I have to divide by 4 for both sides, the left hand side and the right hand side. And the equation will become 0 equals x squared plus 1 over 2x plus 2. So now the coefficient of x squared is 1. We can just apply the completing the square formula, which the equations will become 0 equals x plus 1 over 4 square minus 1 over 4 square plus 2. Then simplify this equation. It becomes x plus 1 over 4 square equals negative 31 over 16. So x plus 1 over 4 becomes equals plus minus square root of negative 31 over 16. And we know that we cannot square root a negative number. Hence, for this case, there is no solution. The quadratic equation has no real roots. The third method to solve a quadratic equation is by using quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is actually derived from the completing the square method. Now let's see how it works. From general quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, we need to divide by a for both sides because we want to make the coefficient of the x squared to be 1. Hence, the equation becomes x squared plus b over a x plus c over a equals 0. Now, the coefficient of x squared equals to 1, so we can perform completing the square. So look at the first two terms here. We can apply the completing the square formula. Two brackets, right? Both are square, then minus and plus c over a equal to 0. The first bracket I will fill up as x plus b over 2a, and the second bracket will be b over 2a. So remove the bracket, I will have x plus b over 2a squared minus b squared over 4a squared plus c over a equals 0. Okay, because when we remove the bracket, we have a square here. Then these two terms, the numerator and the denominator, both need to be squared. That's why you get b squared over 4a squared. Alright, now move on to the next step. Since we have two fractions for these two constants, we need to make them to have the same denominator. So this term, it will still remain the same, b squared over 4a squared. And this term, we need to multiply with 4a for the top at the bottom, then equals to 0. So the equation will become x plus b over 2a squared, then minus b squared plus 4ac over 4a squared, because now the two terms, the two constant terms have the same denominator. We can combine them together, and equals to 0. After that, we will move the constant term to the right hand side. So the equation becomes x plus b over 2a squared equals b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Okay, then I square both sides. I will have x plus b over 2a equals plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. And we can simplify it, becomes x plus b over 2a equals plus minus square root of b squared over 4ac over 2a. And make x the subject, we'll have negative b over 2a plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So since these two fractions have the same denominator, we can combine them into one fraction. So x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Hence, this is how we get the quadratic formula that we can use it to solve quadratic equations. Now, let's see example 4, which involves solving quadratic equations using quadratic formula. Solve the following equations using the quadratic formula, giving your answers correct to 2 decimal places where necessary. A. 3x squared minus 2x minus 5 equals 0. B. 5x times x plus 2 equals 3 times x minus 1. And C. X times x plus 3 equals 3 over 7 times x squared minus 7. So here's the solution. For A, 3x squared minus 2x minus 5 equals 0. So before we want to use the quadratic formula to solve this equation, the first step we need to do is identify the value of A, B, and C. So for this case, the value for A is 3, B is negative 2, and C is negative 5. Remember that quadratic equations usually is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Hence, for this case, these are the values for A, B, and C. And now, we move on to apply the quadratic formula to solve this equation. So x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So what we have to do is substitute the values of a, b, and c into this formula. Hence, we'll get x equals negative bracket negative 2 plus minus square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 5 over 2 times 3. Then we simplify this equation first. We'll get x equals 2 plus minus square root of 64 over 6. And now, it can be split into two equations. The first one is x equals 2 plus 8 over 6. And the second one is x equals 2 minus 8 over 6. Then we calculate the values separately. The first answer will be x equals 5 over 3, and the second answer is x equals -1. So for B, 5x times x plus 2 equals 3 times x minus 1. So the first step, we will expand the bracket. For this case, we get 5x squared plus 10x equals 3x minus 3. And from here, I see that the 5x squared is positive at the left-hand side. Hence, I'll move the 3x minus 3 from the right side to the left-hand side. So this will be the equation. 5x squared minus 7x plus 3 equals 0. Now, this equation is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where the a equals 5, the b equals -7, and c equals 3. Then we can apply the formula x equals -b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Then substitute the values of a, b, c into this formula. We'll get x equals negative bracket -7 plus minus square root of -7 square minus 4 times 5 times 3 over 2 times 5. So calculate the values. We'll have x equals negative bracket -7 plus minus square root of -11 over 10. As you can see from this equation, we are square rooting a negative number, which is square root of -11. So we can't square root a negative value. Hence, for this case, there is no solution, which means the quadratic equation has no real roots. Alright, now move on to C. X times x plus 3 equals 3 over 7 times x squared minus 7. So again, we'll expand the brackets, which we get x squared plus 3x equals 3 over 7 x squared minus 1. And now, I have to move everything to the left-hand side because this will make the x squared term to be positive. So we'll get 4 over 7 x squared plus 3x minus 1, 3x plus 1 equals 0. Then, since I don't like the fraction, the coefficient of x squared is a fraction. So what I have to do is I have to multiply by 7 throughout the whole equation. So the equation becomes 4x squared plus 21x plus 7 equals 0. So it is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where the a equals 4, the b equals 21, and the c equals -7. Then apply the formula x equals to -b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Substitute the value inside the formula. You get x equals -21 plus minus square root of 21 square minus 4 times 7 over 2 times 4. So we calculate the values and we'll get -21 plus square root of 553 over 8, or -21 minus 553 over 8. And we just calculate, we'll get this value and this value. Now you can try this example yourself. Solve the following equations using the quadratic formula, giving your answers correct to 2 decimal places where necessary. A. 1 plus 5x minus 6x squared equals 0. B. 2x minus x times 3 plus x equals 5x minus 12. And C. 1 minus x times 4 plus x equals 3 over 4x plus 5. You can pause the video and try to do it yourself. Alright, so here's the solution. For A, 1 plus 5x minus 6x squared equals to 0. So for this case, I see that the x squared term is a negative term. So I have to make it to be positive by just multiplying -1 for both sides. So it becomes 6x squared minus 5x minus 1 equals 0. And now it is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where the a equals 6, b equals -5, and c equals -1. Then I apply the formula x equals -b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Then substitute the value, I will get x equals negative bracket -5 plus minus square root of -5 squared minus 4 times 6 times -1 over 2 times 6. Calculate the value, I will get x equals 5 plus minus square root of 49 over 12. Then calculate separately. The first answer, x equals 5 plus 7 over 12. Or the second answer, x equals 5 minus 7 over 12, which is x equals 1 or x equals negative 1 over 6. Then for b, 2x minus x times 3 plus x equals 5x minus 12. So the first step I do is expand the bracket. I get 2x minus 3x minus x squared equals 5x minus 12. So I move all the terms for the left side to the right hand side so that the x squared terms is positive. So the equation becomes 0 equals x squared plus 6x minus 12. And it is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a equals to 1, b equals to 6, and c equals to negative 12. Now we can apply the formula x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Substitute the value x equals negative 6 plus minus square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 12 over 2 times 1. Calculate the values, we get x equals negative 6 plus minus square root of 84 over 2. Then calculate separately, x equals negative 6 plus square root of 84 over 2, or x equals negative 6 minus square root of 84 over 2. So the first answer will be x equals to 1.58 to 2 decimal places, and the second answer is x equals negative 7.58 to 2 decimal places. Next, for c, 1 minus x times 4 plus x equals 3 over 4x plus 5. So first step, expand the bracket, I will get 4 minus 3x minus x squared equals 3 over 4x plus 5. Then I move all the terms from the left hand side to the right hand side so that the x squared term is positive. So it becomes 0 equals x squared plus 15 over 4x plus 1. Now look at the middle term, the x term. We can see that the coefficient is a fraction. So we can make it to be a whole number so that our calculation is easier by multiplying 4 for both sides, and the equation becomes 0 equals 4x squared plus 15x plus 4. So now it is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a equals to 4, b equals to 15, and c equals 4. Then we can apply the formula x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Substitute the value x equals negative 15 plus minus square root of 15 squared minus 4 times 4 times 4 over 2 times 4. Calculate the values, we get x equals negative 15 plus minus square root of 161 over 8. Calculate separately, so the first answer x equals negative 15 plus square root of 161 over 8, or x equals negative 15 minus square root of 161 over 8. So the answer is x equals negative 0.29 to 2 decimal places, or x equals negative 3.46 to 2 decimal places. The fourth method to solve quadratic equations is the graphical method. So as mentioned in this title, we need to plot a graph in order to solve quadratic equation. So let's look at example 5 here. Solve the equation x squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0 graphically by drawing the graph of y equals x squared minus 4x minus 5 for the range of x from negative 2 to 6 inclusive. So as a solution, when you want to plot a graph, we need to have the table first with the x and the y variables. So let's choose some values for x which is within negative 2 to 6. So let's say negative 2, then y is 7. When x is negative 1, y is 0. When x is 0, y is negative 5. So you have to calculate one by one. 1, 8, negative 8, then 2, negative 9, and so on, all the way to the last point, maybe end with 6, because this is the maximum value for x, and the y will be 7. So once I have this table, all the values has been calculated, I can start to plot the graph. So I will take out the graph paper, then I will label the x-axis. This will be my scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is my y-axis. From here, this is the origin, 0. So the negative side of the x is this, negative 1, negative 2. Then I can start to label the y-axis. So this will be my y-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8. The negative part of the y-axis, negative 1 all the way to negative 9, because as I see from the table, x value for -2 to 6, so we have -2 to 6. The y value, the smallest number, is -9, so I have to make sure that I have a -9 here for the y-axis. The largest number is 7. Over here we have 7 and 7 here, so I have to at least have a 7 or maybe one more scale, which is 8 here. So once I have drawn the x and the y axis properly with the proper scale, I can start to plot the point one by one. So the first point, when x is -2, y is 7. So this will be the point, -2, 7. Next point, -1, 0. So x is -1, the y is 0, which is this point. Next one, 0, -5. When x is 0, the y is -5. Okay, I'll repeat the process for all these remaining points here. 1, -8, which is this point. 2, -9, which is this point. 3, -8 will be this point. 4, -5, this point. 5, 0 will be this point. And 6, 7 will be this point. Alright, so I have all the points from the table. I can join these points with a curve. So I will just use freehand to join these points together, and I'll get a curve like this. This is called a parabola shape. Alright, so once I have this graph, okay, don't forget to label the graph. So this is y equals to x squared minus 4x minus 5 as given by the question here. Alright, next step. When the graph y equals x squared minus 4x minus 5 cuts the y-axis, so which is this point and this point. So y equals to 0. So which means that the equation now is 0 equals x squared minus 4x minus 5. So the values or value of x at this point is or are the solution or roots of the equation. Notice that I put an s with the bracket because you might get one value, two values, or even no values. Alright, so and similar for the solution. So we have either 1, 2, or no solution, 1 root, 2 roots, or no roots. Okay, so for this case, right, we can see that this point x is -1 and this point x is 5. So these two values will be the solution for this equation. Alright, so this is what we call graphical method to find the solution of this quadratic equation. Alright, now you can try this example yourself. Given the equation y equals -x squared minus 3x plus 6. A. Complete the following table based on the given equation. So this is the table given. And B. Draw the graph of y equals -x squared minus 3x plus 6 for the range of x from -5 to 2 inclusive using a scale of 1 cm to 1 unit on the x-axis and 1 cm to 1 unit on the y-axis. C. Hence, solve the equation -x squared minus 3x plus 6 equals 0 graphically. So you can pause the video and try to solve it yourself. Alright, so here's the solution. So for A, you have to calculate one by one. So we have the equation y equals -x squared minus 3x plus 6. So substitute x equals -5 into this equation. Calculate one by one. So when x is -5, I calculate the value y is -4. When x is -4, I will calculate the y. I'll get 2. When x is -2, the y is 8. When x is 0, y is 6. When x is 1, y is 2. When x is 2, y is -4. So this will be the answer for A. Next, for B, I want to plot the graph. Then I need to take out my graph paper. So I will start to plot the graph by drawing the x-axis first. So this will be the x-axis. And I see that the positive x with 1 and 2. So I would scale have 1 and 2 here. Then this will be my y axis, where this is the origin. This will be the negative values for the x, because when I see -5 is the smallest one all the way to 0. So maybe -5 here, can have one more if you want. Then -4, -3, -2, -1 based on the scale given. Okay, sometimes the question will give you the scale, sometimes they don't. So you have to be aware what is if the scale is given. So if yes, you have to follow. If no, then you have to decide yourself. Okay, now move on to label the y-axis, right? So we can see that the highest value is 8, the smallest value is -4. So from the positive side of the y-axis, this will be the scale. 1 cm is to 1 unit, so 1 all the way to 8. For the negative side, can be 1 all the way to the smallest is -4. You can have 1 or 2 more scale if you want. So once I have drawn the x and the y axis, I can start to plot the point. First point, -5, -4. So when x is -5, the y is -4. This is the point. The next point, -4, 0. Sorry, -4, 2. So -4 is here, 2 is here. Next point, -2, 8. So it will be here. Then 0, 6. 0, 6 will be here. Then 1, 2. So 1, 2. So it's here. 2, -4 will be here. So this will be the point. Alright, I plotted all the points from the table. I can use freehand to join all these points together. So this is what I'll get. Okay, so this will be the answer for B, and don't forget to label the graph. Okay, rewrite the equation y equals to -x squared minus 3x plus 6. Okay, now I want to find to find the solution of this equation. So this tells us y equal to 0, because as we can see, y equal to -x squared minus 3x plus 6. So this whole thing is 0. So this point will be the first solution. From the graph, this value is -4.4. Okay, you might get maybe some slightly different answer, since when we draw the graph, the answer might not be that accurate, but usually it is acceptable with small errors. So this will be my first solution. This will be my second solution. So this point will be x equals to 1.4. Okay, so this will be the answer for this example. Alright, now let's see example 6. Draw the graph of y equals x squared minus 6x plus 9 for the range of x from 0 to 6 inclusive. Use the graph that you had drawn. Solve the equation x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0. So here's the solution. When I want to plot the graph, I need to build a table first with the x and the y values. And from here, I am given the range of the x is from 0 to 6. So I can start with x0, then calculate the corresponding value of y, which is 9. Then the next number, 1. When x is 1, so I calculate the corresponding value of y, I will get a 4. Move on, when x is 2, the corresponding value of y will be 1. When x is 3, then y will be 0. So please calculate. Okay, if you want to follow, right, just calculate. Substitute x is 3 inside and calculate y. Then when x is 4, the corresponding value will be 1. When x is 5, the y will be 4. And the last point, the maximum point, x is 6, then the y value will be 9. Right, once I have this table, I can start to plot the graph. Take out the graph paper. So from here, I can see that the x smallest value is 0, largest is 6. For the y value, smallest value is 0, largest value is 9. Okay, so all x and y values, both of them, all of the values are positive. So I don't want to consider the negative part. This is my x axis, and label this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because it's from 0 to 6. Then this will be the y axis from 0 all the way to 9, and then maybe 10 here. So from here, I choose 2 centimeters to 1 unit for the y axis. Similar for x axis, 2 centimeters is to 1 unit. Okay, now from here, I start to plot the point one by one, 0, 9. So from x is 0, y is 9. So it's here, 1, 4, x is 1, y is 4, is this point, x is 2, y is 1 here, x is 3, and y is 0. Next point, x is 4, y is 1, x is 5, y is 4, so it's here, x is 6, y is 9. Okay, I have plot all the points here. I can use freehand to join all these points together. So this is what I get. Alright, as you can see, it is a curve, and if you notice, it actually is a symmetrical along this line. Okay, now from here, don't forget to label this graph. This is y equals to x squared minus 6x plus 9, given here. Then we can find the solution, right? So this whole thing equal to y means y equal to 0. So from this graph, this will be the only point when y equal to 0. Okay, so then I can write that answer from the graph. The solution is x equal to 3. Okay, so this example is the example where we only have one solution. Okay, maybe after that we'll talk about the graph when there's no solution. You can see how will the graph look like. Alright, now you can try this example yourself. Given the equation y equals negative half x squared minus 4x minus 8. A. Complete the following table. So here is the given table. We have the x values, which is negative 6, negative 4, negative 2, 0, and 2. You have to calculate the y value one by one. So for B, use the table above, draw the graph of y equals negative half x squared minus 4x minus 8. And for C, use the graph in B, solve the equation x squared plus 6x plus 4 equal to 0. Okay, so I will give you a hint. This question will be a little bit different from the previous example. Okay, so I will give you to try it first. After this, maybe we discuss the solution later. Okay, so please pause the video and try to do it yourself. Alright, so here's the solution for A. It's very simple. What you have to do is just substitute x to negative 6 into this equation and calculate the value of y. So you get negative 2 here. So repeat the process, x negative 4, substitute inside the equation. You calculate the value of y with 0. When x is negative 2, with negative 2 for the y. When x is 0, the y will be negative 8. When x is 2, the y will be negative 18. Okay, so we have completed this table. Now I move on to draw the graph. So when I want to plot the graph, I have to plan first so that I won't waste my time to draw and find it's wrong, or I don't have enough space to plot the graph. I have to erase again and redraw, so it will be a waste of time. So you have to plan accordingly. When I see the x value, the smallest is negative 6 and the largest is 2. For the y, the smallest is negative 2, the largest is, no, I would say the largest is 0, the smallest is negative 18. Okay, and most of the y values, they are negative. We don't see any positive number. Maybe maximum is 0 here. In other words, right, we don't have to leave space for positive value of y. Alright, similarly for x values, as you can see, we have more negative numbers compared to the positive number. So we don't have to leave a lot of space for the positive x value. Alright, so with this in mind, then I can draw the x and the y axis properly. So I will draw the x axis at this position because, as I mentioned, right, for the y, we don't have to leave any space actually, right, or just a small space for the positive y value and allow space for the negative y value. And when I will start to label the x axis, right? So I would label negative 6, negative 5 all the way to negative 1 because the smallest number is negative 6 here. And I choose 2 cm is to 1 unit. After that, this will be my y-axis. Then continue to label the positive side of the x-axis 0, 1, 2. Alright, now this will be my negative the scale for the y-axis where I choose 1 unit is to 1 cm is to 1 unit. So as you can see, this is 2 centimeters is to 2 units. So negative 2, negative 4 all the way to negative 20 because the smallest number is negative 18, so somewhere here. After that, I can start to plot the points. First point, negative 6 is x, negative 2 is for the y. So negative 6, negative 2 will be this point. Negative 4, 0, so it will be this point. Okay, negative 2, negative 2. So from here to here. Then 0, negative 8, it will be this point. 2, negative 18, it will be this point. Okay, once I all these points, use freehand, join them together. So this is the curve I'll get. And don't forget to label the graph y equals to negative half x squared minus 4x minus 8. Okay, so this is for B. Now move on to C. Solve this equation using this graph. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 4 equals to 0. You might find it very weird because this equation x squared plus 6x plus 4 is very different from the equation of this curve. So what should you do? So you have to modify this equation so that part of this equation will be, we have this part, negative half x squared minus 4x minus 8. So what you have to do is first start with the x squared. So the coefficient of this x squared is 1 and I want negative half. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to divide negative 2 for both sides so that I will get a negative half here. So when I divide negative 2, and I will get negative half x squared. So 6 divided by negative 2, I will get negative 3x. 4 divided by negative 2, I will get negative 2 equal to 0. Okay, so this has done. Move on to the x term. I want negative 4x. I only have negative 3x. So what I have to do is I will minus x for both sides. If the left hand side minus x, I will get negative half x squared minus 4x minus 2. And the right hand side, I also have to put a negative x here. Okay, instead from 0, it becomes negative x. Now move on to the constant. I want negative 8. I have negative 2. So I have to minus 6 for both sides. So that this negative 2 will become negative 8. And the right hand side, I also have a minus 6. And now, as you can see, the left hand side will be same as the y here, negative half x squared minus 4x minus 8. So I can substitute this part to be the y that equals to negative x minus 6. Alright, so this will be a linear equation. Alright, so when I want to plot this graph, I can choose some values for x and y. So to make it simple, let's check. Let's substitute. When x is 0, the y will be negative 6. Alright, so I can plot 0, negative 6, which is this point. The next point, I will choose when y equal to 0, then x is negative 6. So that means x is negative 6, y is 0, which is this point. And now I can join these 2 points together, I will get a straight line. Okay, remember if a linear graph, I need to have at least 2 points so that I can join these 2 points together to form the straight line. Okay, so label this line as y equals negative x minus 6. Then I want to find the solution. So the intersection point of this line and the curve will be the solution where I have to refer to the x value. So this will be my first point or the first solution, and I find that it is negative 5.2. Okay, and the second solution will be the second intersect point here, which is here. The x value will be negative 0.75. Okay, so then I can write down my answer from the graph. The solution will be x equals negative 5.2 or x equals to negative 0.75. So this will be the solution for this question. Now let's see one more example in solving quadratic equations using graphical method. Example 7. Solve the equation 2x squared minus 7x plus 7 equals 0 graphically by drawing the graph of y equals 2x squared minus 7x plus 7 using the following table. So here's the table. Alright, so now let's see the solution here. First thing is we want to find the corresponding values of y from the table given here. So when x is negative 1, substitute inside this equation, y equals to 2x squared minus 7x plus 7. So the value that I will get will be 16. So repeat the same process for the rest of the values of x. I get 11, 7, 2, 1, 4, and 11. Alright, so after I have all these values, now I can start to plot the graph here. Again, I want to plan the drawing the graph. So the first thing is I want to check the x value. As I see, I can have all the positive, most of the numbers of x are positive, and for the y, all the numbers are positive as well. Alright, so what I have to do is I will draw the x-axis at this position because I want to leave a lot of space for the positive y value. Now, then I start to label the x-axis negative 2, negative 1 all the way to 4 here. Okay, because as I can see that the smallest x is negative 1, largest is 4. So somewhere here, negative 2 all the way to 4. Similarly, for the y-axis, so from this point, 0 all the way up, and label the y-axis 2468 all the way to 18. So the scale for the y will be 2 cm is to 2 units. For the x-axis, 2 cm is to 1 unit. Okay, then I will start to plot the graph, negative 116. So negative 116 this point. The next point, negative 511, 0, 7, 1, 2, 2, 1, 3, 4, 4, 11. Okay, so I have all these points, then use freehand, join all these points together. This is the curve that I will get. Don't forget to label the graph y equals to 2x squared minus 7x plus 7. As you can see, this curve, right, it doesn't touch the x-axis. Okay, so we don't have the solution for this case. Then we can say that the graph of the y equals to 2x squared minus 7x plus 7 does not meet the x-axis. So in other words, right, there is no value of x that satisfy 2x squared minus 7x plus 7 equals 0. Hence, the equation 2x squared minus 7x plus 7 equals 0 has no real roots. Okay, so this is the example where we can find a solution for this quadratic equation using the graphical method. Alright, so now let's try this example yourself. Solve the equation x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0 graphically by drawing the graph of y equals negative half x squared minus 2x minus 3 using the following table. So here is the table. Okay, you can pause the video and try to solve it yourself. Alright, so here's the solution. So the very first step you have to do is fill up this table, calculate one by one. When x is negative 6, so substitute this value into the equation here. And I will get negative 9. Okay, then repeat the same process for the other values of the x. When x is negative 4, then y is negative 3. When x is negative 2, y is negative 1, and so on, right? 0 is negative 3, 1 is negative 5.5, 2 is negative 9, and 3 is negative 13.5. Okay, just calculate all the y values using this equation. The next step I can do is I can start to plot the graph. Okay, again, please plan the x, where to draw the x and the y axis first. Okay, so that you will waste the time erasing here and erasing there when you find it is wrong. Okay, so for this case, I will draw the x-axis here. Okay, because as you can see, I don't have to leave a lot of space for positive y, as all the y values are negative. Alright, then I can start to label the x-axis. So with negative 6, negative 5, negative 4 all the way to 3, because the smallest value is negative 6, the largest is 3. And I choose the scale as 2 centimeters to 1 unit. Okay, then from the 0 point here, I'll draw the y-axis and label all the values here, negative 2, negative 4 all the way to negative 14. Okay, the scale I use here is 1 cm to 1 unit. Okay, here 2 cm is to 2 units. So from here, I can start to plot the point. Now, negative 6, negative 9, so it is this point, followed by negative 4, 3 here. Then negative 2, negative 1 will be here. 0, negative 3 is here. 1, negative 5.5 will be here. Then 2, negative 9, so will be here. And 3, negative 13.5, so will be here. Okay, I have plot all the points here. I just need to join these points with a smooth curve. Then label this graph as y equals to negative half x squared minus 2x minus 3. Okay, now once I have plotted the graph, I will move on to solve the equation that is required here, x squared plus 6 plus x minus 6 equal to 0. Okay, again, when I compare the equation of the graph here, y equals to negative half x squared minus 2x minus 3 is very different. So I have to modify this equation. First, I'll compare the x squared here. So the coefficient of x squared in this equation is 1, but this is negative half. So I have to make it to be negative half. What I have to do is, I will divide negative 2 for both sides. So this is what I will get. Negative half x squared minus half x plus 3 equal to 0. Okay, so now the x squared term have the same coefficient with the equation of the graph. Now I move on to the x term here. I have negative 2x, but I want negative 2x. So negative half x, I want to negative 2x. So all I have to do is I have to minus 3 over 2x for both sides. Okay, so that this term will become negative 2x. Then this is what I get, negative half x squared minus 2x plus 3 equals negative 3 over 2x. Then I compare the constant term. I have positive 3, but I want negative 3. So what should I do? I will minus 6 for both sides. And this is what I get. Negative half x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals negative 3 over 2x minus 6. As you can see from here, now all these terms is same as the y equals to negative half x squared minus 2x minus 3. So I can represent this expression to be y. So y equals, then the rest here you just copy down, negative 3 over 2x minus 6. Alright, I have this linear equation. Now I want to plot this linear equation. So I will prepare a table, right? Choose a simple values for x and y. So you don't have to have a lot because this is a linear graph. Minimum 2 points. And if you want, you can add one more point here. So I will choose the x value to be 0 so that my calculation will be easy for the y. So when x is 0, y will be negative 6. Similarly, I will choose the y value to be 0 so that I can calculate the x value easily. So when y is 0, then the x is negative 4. Okay, now an extra point here, you can just choose any point. Just make sure it is easy to calculate. So let's say I will choose 2 here because when I substitute 2 here, can cancel out the 2 here and everything will be just a whole number or integer. So the y value will be negative 9. Then I will start to plot this line on the graph here. So the first point is 0, negative 6. So it will be here. The next point, negative 4, 0. So it will be this point. 2, negative 9. So 2, negative 9 will be this point. Okay, so exactly the same as this point. Alright, next I'll just join this point together with a straight line and label the graph as y equals to negative 3 over 2x minus 6. Okay, so using this graph, I can solve the equation x squared plus x minus 6 equal to 0 by looking at the intersect point here. This is the first intersect point where the x value is negative 3. And this is the second intersect point between the curve and the line. And the value is 2 here. Okay, so from the graph, the solution is x is negative 3, which is this one, or x equals 2, which is this one, this point. So this is the solution for this example. Next, let's talk about fractional equations. What are fractional equations? Fractional equations are equations that contain unknown or unknowns in the denominator of one or more of its fractional expressions. So here are a few examples so that you can get the idea clearly. So first one, 1 over x equals 3. So we have the unknown x in this fraction. So second one is 2 times 10x plus 1 over x plus 1 equals 4x minus 3. So again, this is the fraction and we have unknown at the denominator. Next one, over x plus 2 over x squared equals 5. So obviously we have two unknowns here with the same letter, x and x squared. So they are in the denominator of the fractions here. So some fractional equations can be solved by transforming them into quadratic equations. So for example, this example, right, we can actually transform this equation into quadratic equations, then we can solve it. So we'll talk about it more in the next slide with examples. Before we move on to talk about examples related to fractional equations, here are a few basic concepts that you must know. Number one, addition of fractions. So for the first one, a, let's say a over b plus c over d. So if we want to combine these two fractions into one, so what we have to do is we have to make them to have the common denominator. So we just multiply the denominators together, bd. So for the numerator, for the a, we need to multiply with d. Then plus with the c, we need to multiply with the b. So we have bc. So now let's go to more advanced fractions here. So let's say we're a plus b over c plus d plus e plus f over g plus h. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed with this equation or this expression, but the idea is the same as part A. So treat this as A, this c plus d as the b here. So c is the e plus f and g plus h is the d here. So what we have to do is, again, the same concept, we need to make them to the common denominator. So just multiply these two denominator together, we have c plus d times g plus h. Now for the top here, this a plus b will multiply with g plus h, then plus followed by e plus f need to multiply with c plus d. Alright, so after that we can expand the brackets here. Like a times g, I will get ag, then a times h, I will get ah, so plus ah, b times g will be plus bg, and b times h we have plus bh. Similar for the second expansion here, we have plus and move on e times c with ec, plus with e times d, ed, plus with f times c, fc, plus with f times d, then fd. Okay, so number 2, subtraction of fractions. We have the similar concept with addition of fractions. You have to be careful with the sign. Let's see, for example 1, a over b minus c over d. So again, we want to make them to a common denominator. So for this case, it's bd. And for a, multiply with the d. C multiply with the b. But in between, we have to put a minus here. Okay, so be careful with the sign. And then minus bc. Okay, now let's move on to slightly complicated expression here. A over b minus c plus d over e. So again, we want to combine these two fractions into one. We have to make them to have the common denominator, which is b. So then a multiply with e. Then now be careful the sign, minus. Please put bracket here. So b times c plus d. Okay, after that we want to expand the bracket here. So first is ae, then minus b times c, I'll get minus bc, minus b times d, I'll get minus bd. Okay, so be careful. Again, I have to repeat many times. Be careful the sign, because this is quite a common mistake many students will make. So let's move on to more advanced expression. A plus b over c plus d minus e plus f over g plus h. Okay, again, we're minus here. Be careful with the sign. So same concept, make them to the common denominator. So c plus d times g plus h. Then this a plus b multiply with g plus h. And then minus e plus f times with c plus d. Okay, so after that, we can expand the bracket. A times g, I'll get ag. A times h, I'll get ah. B times g, I will have bg. And b times h, I will have bh. Okay, they add them together. After that, be careful the sign here. So I would suggest you do slowly. Right, expand first. Maintain the minus here, and then we put a bracket here. Start to expand. E times c, ec. E times d, it will be plus ed. F times c is fc. F times d is fd. Okay, now you have to remove the bracket here by changing all the signs inside the bracket if you see a negative in front. So it will become this whole thing with the same, right? And when I remove the bracket, I'll get minus ec, minus ed, minus fc, minus fd. Okay, so this will be the answer, right, for combining these two fractions together. Next one, cross multiplication, right? Like for example here, if a over b equals to c, so I want to move this b to the right hand side, then a equals bc, so we make a the subject. For b, if we have a over b equals c over d, so we cross multiply. A times d, I'll get ad, that equals b times c, so both are equal. Okay, so please make sure you know these concepts before we move on to discuss about fractional equations. Alright, now let's see example 8 here. Solve 2 bracket 10x plus 1 over x plus 1 equals 4x minus 3. So here's the solution. We can bring over x plus 1 to the right hand side here, and the left hand side we still have 2 times 10x plus 1. Okay, and the right hand side becomes 4x minus 3 times x plus 1. After that, what we do is we can expand the bracket. 2 times 10x, 20x, 2 times 1 is 2. So these two brackets multiply, I will get 4x squared plus x minus 3. Okay, so move on. I want to move these two terms to the right hand side so that I will form the quadratic equations in a standard form and I can solve it easily. Okay, and also the x squared term is positive. So I will get 0 equals 4x squared minus 19x minus 5. Okay, to solve this equation, we have to factorize this part, the quadratic expressions part, which I will get 0 equals to 4x plus 1 times x minus 5. Then from here, I can split it into two equations, 4x plus 1 equal to 0 or x minus 5 equal to 0. So x equals negative 1 quarter or x equals to 5. So this will be the solution for example 8. Now, you can try this example yourself. Solve 18x plus 1 over x plus 2 equals 6x minus 1. So you can pause this video, try some time to solve this equation. Okay, so here's the solution. Okay, I think I don't want to go through more detail here, so just move this to the right hand side. So 6x minus 1, I will get x plus 2. This will remain the same. Expand the bracket, this is what I get. Then I move these two terms to the right hand side so that I will get a quadratic equation. And the x squared term is positive. Then factorize, I will have 0 equals 2x minus 3 times 3x plus 1. Then I will solve separately. 2x minus 3 equal to 0 or 3x plus 1 equal to 0. Hence x equals 3 over 2 or x equals to negative 1 over 3. So this is the solution for this example. Now let's see one more example with more advanced fractional equations. Solve the equation 2 over x plus 3 plus x minus 5 over x minus 4 equals 11 over 6. So here's the solution. We have this equation. We want to combine the two fractions at the left hand side into one. Okay, so make them to have the common denominator, x plus 3 times x minus 4, and these two times the x minus 4, x minus 5 times the x plus 3. Okay, in between here is plus because this is plus. So the right hand side don't do anything, just copy down 11 over 6. Then the next step, expand the bracket. I will have 2x minus 8 plus x squared minus 2x minus 15 over. Expand the bracket at the bottom here as well. We have x squared minus x minus 12 equals 11 over 6. So from here, simplify further. X squared is still x squared, right? 2x minus 2x cancelled. Minus 8 minus 15, I get 23. Alright, the rest is the same. Just copy x squared minus x minus 12 equals 11 over 6. Then from here, what we do is we cross multiply. So 6 times x squared minus 23, this is what I get, 6x squared minus 138. 11 times the x squared minus x minus 12, I will get 11x squared minus 11x minus 132. So now I want to decide if I want to move everything to the left hand side or right hand side. So I have to move these two terms to the right hand side because after I move it, the x squared term will be positive. And this is what I get. 0 equals 5x squared minus 11x plus 6. So next step, I can factorize this equation, which I will get x minus 1 times 5x minus 6. That equals to 0 at the left hand side. Solve separately, x minus 1 equals 0 or 5x minus 6 equal to 0. So x is 1 or x is 6 over 5. So this will be the solution for this equation. Okay, so now we can try this example yourself. Solve the equation x plus 2 over x minus 7 minus 2x minus 1 over x minus 3 equals 11 over 5. Okay, so this example you have to be very careful because we have so many negative sign here, right? Minus here, we have minus 1, minus 3. So make sure when you want to solve it, you handle the sign properly. So please go ahead, pause the video and try to get the answer for this example. Okay, so here's the solution. So given this equation, I want to combine these two terms together. So they have the common denominator as x minus 7 times x minus 3. And x plus 2 times the x minus 3, this is what I get. Then minus 2x minus 1 times x minus 7 equals to 11 over 5. Next step, expand the bracket one by one. So this times this one, I'll get x squared minus x minus 6. And be careful with this part because we still have a negative sign in front after we expand the bracket. So don't forget to put a negative sign and bracket here. Okay, after that, you can expand the bracket, which I'll get minus 2x squared plus 15 minus 7. Okay, and actually I have already expanded the bottom, x minus 7 times x minus 3. This is x squared minus 10x plus 21. Then simplify here. So x squared minus 2x squared, I get minus x squared. Minus x plus 15x, I'll get plus 14x. Minus x minus 7, negative 13. Alright, then after that, to solve it, we cross multiply 5 times negative x squared plus 14x minus 13, which I will get negative 5x squared plus 70x minus 65. Similarly, for 11, multiply with this whole thing. So 11 times x squared, I get 11x squared, then minus 110x plus 231. So after that, I have to decide to bring these three terms to the right hand side, because it will make the x squared term positive, which I will get 0 equals 16x squared minus 180x plus 296. Alright, then simplify it first. We'll get 4x squared minus 45x plus 72. Then factorize, I will get 0 equals x minus 2 times 4x minus 37. Solve them separately. X minus 2 equals 0, or 4x minus 37 equals 0. Hence x equals 2, or x equals 37 over 4. Now we come to the last part of the lecture, problems involving quadratic equations. Here are a few tips to solve problems involving quadratic equations. Number 1. Read the questions carefully. Understand fully what information is given and what is needed to find. If necessary, underline keywords, equations, expressions, numbers, and values given. Sketch a diagram if necessary so that you can see the whole picture clearly. Number 2. Let a letter to represent the unknown found in the problem. Usually, we'll use X or Y. We can also use the first letter of the name of the unknown. Examples, like area, we can use letter A. Volume, we can use letter V. Mass, we can use letter M. Temperature, we can use letter T. Avoid using letters look like numbers. Examples like O and I. Okay, so if you want to use I, you should write the letter I in this way. Okay, as you can see, we have one line at the top and one line at the bottom, so that this letter doesn't look like 1. For O, it looks like 0, so usually we don't use O unless if you are talking about origin. For in the coordinate geometry chapter, then we use O. Then the L, so this L also look like 1. So if you have to use this letter, then you should write this letter in this way. Okay, so next one, Z. Letter Z looks like number 2. So you should write a bar in between the Z here so that it can differentiate between number 2 and Z. Okay, point number 3. Form expressions that represent quantities that are described by the question. Here is an example. An object travels at a speed of x meters per second for a distance of 1,500 meters. We can form an expression that represents time. So we know that speed equals distance over time. Hence, time equals distance over speed. So for this case, our distance is 1500 and our speed is x. Usually needs to form two expressions. Number 4. Form an equation connecting these two expressions. Then solve the equation to find the value of the unknown. Reject. Answer that does not make sense. Okay, then point number 6. Calculate the required quantity by the question. Example. When x equals 30, then our time will be 1500 over 30, which is 50 seconds. Point number 7. Write down answer statement where necessary. Now, look at example 10. We'll use the 7 points I mentioned just now to solve this example. A rectangular garden measures 25 meters by 15 meters. A path with uniform width is built around the garden and the rest of the garden is flower bed. If the area of the path is 144 meters square, find the perimeter of the flower bed. So here's the solution. As I mentioned in the previous slide, if possible, we'll draw the diagram out so that you can see the picture clearly. So the first sentence, it says a rectangular garden measures 25 meters by 15 meters. So that means the length will be 25 meters and the width will be 15 meters. Next, let's see what are the important keywords. A path with uniform width. So from here, I'll draw another rectangle inside this rectangle, the bigger rectangle here. And this will be the path with uniform width. So the rest of the garden is flower bed. In other words, this region will be the flower bed. Next sentence, if what we do is let x to be the width of the path. So this will be the width of the path, and this also will be the width of the path. That means this length will be 25 minus 2x, and this length will be 15 minus 2x. So the next sentence, if the area of the path is 144 meters square, so means that to find the area of the path, we can take the area of the big rectangle minus the area of the small rectangle. So substitute the values. The area of the path is 144 equals area of the big rectangle will be 25 times 15. Then minus the area of the small rectangle will be 25 minus 2x times 15 minus 2x. Then we simplify this equation. Expand the bracket. We have 144 equals 375 minus. Don't forget to put brackets first after you expand these two brackets, which we get 375 minus 50x minus 30x plus 4x squared. Simplify further, I will have 144 equals 375 minus bracket 375 minus 80x plus 4x squared. Next, remove the bracket. So once I remove, I have to be careful here because as you can see, we have a minus sign in front of the bracket. So once I remove the bracket, all the sign inside here will have to change. Then we have minus 375 plus 80x minus 4x squared. Alright, now from here, I'll have to move everything here to the left hand side so that I will make the x squared term to be positive. So once I move everything to the left hand side, I will have 4x squared minus 80x plus 144 equals 0. Okay, so before I want to solve this equation, I have to simplify this equation further, right? By dividing both sides by 4, I will have x squared minus 20x plus 36 equals 0. Okay, as you can see, after I simplify further, the numbers is smaller, and we can factorize easily, which we will get x minus 2 times x minus 18 equals 0. Then I will solve them separately. X minus 2 equals 0 or x minus 18 equals 0. Means x equals 2 or x equals to 18. But I have to reject x equal to 18. What's the reason? Because as you can see from this diagram, right, the maximum length or the width is 50 meters. It cannot be, the x cannot be more than 50 meters, so it doesn't make sense here. All right, so that means x equals to 2 will be the only answer. So now I can answer the question. I want to find the perimeter of the flower bed. So now I want to find the length of the flower bed first, which is 25 minus 2x. The x is 2 here. So 25 minus 2 times 2. And the answer is 21 meters. Next, I'll move on to find the width. 15 minus 2x. Again, x is 2. 15 minus 2 times 2. And the answer is 11 meters. Okay, I have the length, I have the width. Now I can calculate the perimeter, which is 2 times of 21 plus 11. And the answer is 64 meters. Write down the answer statement. The perimeter of the flower bed is 64 meters. Now, you can try this similar example yourself. A rectangular room measures 40 meters by 32 meters. A carpet is placed at the center of the room, leaving a space with uniform width around the room. If the area of the space is 512 meters square, find the perimeter of the carpet. You can pause the video and try to do it yourself. Okay, so here's the solution. The first sentence, a rectangular room. So from here, I can draw a rectangle, measures 40 meters by 32 meters. Means the length is 40 meters, the width is 32 meters. Then a carpet is placed at the center of the room, leaving a space with uniform width. So the keyword uniform width. Then I will draw a smaller rectangle inside the rectangle. This gray region will be the space. And this blue region will be the carpet. So I will let x to be the width of the path, which means this is the width of the path, and this is also the width of the empty space. Then this length will be 40 minus 2x, and this length will be 32 minus 2x. Given that the area of the space is 512 meters square, so the area of the space will be the area of the big rectangle minus the area of the small rectangle. So we'll substitute the values. 512 equals 40 times 32 minus 40 minus 2x times 32 minus 2x. Then we'll simplify and expand the bracket. For 40 times 32, we have 1280. Then minus, we expand the brackets. We'll put a bracket first, right? We have 1280 minus 80x minus 64x plus 4x squared. Simplify. We have 512 equals 1280 minus bracket 1280 minus 144x plus 4x squared. Then remove the bracket. We have 512 equals 1280 minus 1280 plus 144x minus 4x squared. And now I want to move everything to the left-hand side because I want to make the x squared term to be positive. So I will have 4x squared minus 144x plus 512 equals 0. So I will further simplify by dividing both sides by 4. I will have x squared minus 36x plus 128 equals 0. Then factorize, I will have x minus 4 times x minus 32 equals 0. Solve separately, x minus 4 equals 0 or x minus 32 equals 0. So x equals to 4 or x equals to 32. Now here's the question. Which number should I reject? Okay, so I have to reject 32. But what's the reason? So does it make sense? Because as you can see, the width of this room is 32 meters. So the x cannot be equals to 32 meters because it doesn't make sense here. Okay, now the question asked me to find the perimeter of the carpet. So I'll have to find the length first, which is 40 minus 2 times 4. Okay, as you can see, right, 40 minus 2x, so times 2 times 4 here. And the answer is 32 meters. Similarly to width, 32 minus 2x, so 32 minus 2 times 4, which is 34 meters. And now I can find the perimeter, which is 2 times of 32 plus 24, and the answer is 112 meters. Write down the answer statement. The perimeter of the carpet is 112 meters. Example 11. The distance between Raja's house and his office is 30 kilometers. On a particular day, he drove at an average speed of x kilometers per hour to his office. On the way home, his average speed was 30 kilometers per hour greater than his average speed to his office. Hence, the time taken was 10 minutes faster. Find the average speed when he returned home. So here's the solution. So we know that speed equals distance over time, which means times equals distance over speed. So over here we have 2 times, right? The time when he goes to the office, which is 30 over x. So time number 2 is the time when he returns. So it will be 30 over x plus 30. Okay, as you can see, because the speed is 30 kilometers per hour greater than for the first speed, which is the x. Alright, so from here we know that T1 is greater than T2 because T1 moves slower, T2 moves faster. Hence, T1 minus T2 will give us 10 minutes, but I have to divide by 60 because I want to change it to hours. Alright, so substitute the value. T1 is 30 over x, T2 is 30 over x, x plus 30. Then minus between these two fractions equals 1 over 6. Okay, so make them to the common denominator. So 30 times x plus 30 minus 30x over x times x plus 30 equals 1 over 6. Expand the bracket. I have 30x plus 900 minus 30x over x squared plus 30x equals 106. So simplify, I'll have 900 over x squared plus 30x equals 1x. Then cross multiply. I have 5400 equals x squared plus 30x. I'll move the 5400 to the right side. I'll have 0 equals x squared plus 30x minus 5400. Alright, so from here, I can solve this equation. Okay, I'll write it as 0 equals x plus 15 square minus 5400 minus 15 square. So I'm actually performing completing the square here. So simplify, I'll have 0 equals x plus 15 square minus 5625. So x plus 15 square equals 5625, which means x plus 15 equals plus minus square root of 5625. So x plus 5 equals 75, or x plus 5 equals to negative 75. X equals 60, or x equals to negative 80. So which one should I reject? Yes, I have to reject x equals to negative 80 because x is the speed. So this is a scalar quantity. We don't have negative speed. So we reject the negative number. Now I move on to answer the question. To find the average speed when return home, we have to find the total distance, which is 60 plus 30. No, this is speed. We want to find the speed, right, when the speed is 90 kilometers per hour. So here are a few tips that you should be aware of. Be careful of units used. Which one minus which one? Okay, so if you minus wrongly, for example, let's assume that you take T2 minus T1 equals to 10 over 60. You form the wrong equation and you get the wrong answer. Okay, so be careful with these two things, units and which one minus which one. Now you can try this example yourself. The distance between town A and town B is 165 kilometers. A lorry travels at an average speed of x kilometers per hour from town A to town B. On the return journey, the average speed was 20 kilometers per hour slower than the average speed to town B. Hence, the time taken was 48 minutes slower. find the time taken for the return journey. You can pause the video and try to do it yourself. Okay, so here's the solution. Again, we know that speed equals distance over time, so time will be distance over speed. So the first time means this the time when the lorry travels from town A to town B will be 165 over x. T2, the time when he returns, will be 165 over x minus 20. So which time is longer than which one? Alright, so it will be time number 2 is greater than time number 1 because this lorry travels slower when he returns. Hence, we'll take T2 minus T1 equals 48 over 60. So because 48 is minutes, we have to convert to hours. Then substitute T2 will be 165 over x minus 20. Then minus with the T1, which is 165 over x equals 48 over 60. Then combine the two fractions together with the common denominator. We have 165x minus 165 times x minus 20 over x times x minus 20 equals 4 over 5. Okay, expand the bracket. This is what we get. Simplify further, we have 3300 over x squared minus 20x equals 4 over 5. Cross multiply, we have 16,500 equals 4x squared minus 80x. Then move everything to the right hand side. We have 0 equals 4x squared minus 80x minus 16,500. Okay, so divide by 4 to simplify further. We have 0 equals x squared minus 20x minus 4,125. I will perform completing the square for this case, which is 0 equals x minus 10 square minus 4,125 minus 10 square, which is 0 equals x minus 10 square minus 4,225. Okay, so x minus 10 square equals 4,225, which means x minus 10 equals plus minus square root of 4225. So solve them separately, which is x minus 10 equals 65 or x minus 10 equals to negative 65. So x is 75 or x is negative 55. So which one to reject? So I will reject the negative answer because again, this is speed. We don't, it is a scalar quantity. We don't have negative speed. Okay, now I can answer the question. The time taken for return journey, T2, will be 165 over 65 minus 20 because the substitute x is 75. Calculate, we get 3 hours. Now, let's look at one more example. This is a very classical example. Water flows out at different rates from two taps, A and B, when turned on to its fullness. Water flows out from tap A at x liters per minute and from tap B at 5 liters per minute faster than tap A. A rectangular tank with dimensions of 300 centimeters by 250 centimeters by 120 centimeters is to be filled with water. It takes 5 hours longer to fill the tank with water using tap A alone than by using tap B alone. A. Find the volume of the tank in liters. B. Write down an expression in terms of x the time taken to fill the tank by using only 1. Tap A, 2. Tap B. C. Form the equation in x and show that it reduces to x squared plus 5x minus 150 equals 0. D. Solve the equation x squared plus 5x minus 150 equals 0. E. State the rate of water flow from tap A and tap B. F. Find the time taken in hours to fill the rectangular tank if both tap A and tap B are turned on together. Okay, so this is quite a long question. So you have to answer one by one, slowly, patiently, right? So for A, to find the volume of the tank, it is a rectangular cuboid, right? So it's V equals B, the base times the length times the height. So which is 300 times 250 times 120, we'll get 9 million centimeters square. Alright, so but the question wants us to leave the answer in liters So we know 1 centimeters square is, 1 centimeters cube equals 1 ml. So 9 million centimeters cube is 9 million ml. Then we divide by 1000 to change it to liters, which means it is 9000 liters. Okay, so for B part 1, the rate is volume over the time. So now to find time, it will be volume over the rate. So the time for tab A will be 9000, which is the volume of the tank divided by the X. So similarly, the rate for tab B will be 5 liters per minute faster than tab A. So it will be X plus 5. The time for tab B will be 9000 over X plus 5. Next, for C, the question says that it takes 5 hours longer to fill the tank with water using tab A alone than by using tab B alone. So from this sentence, we know the time for tab A will be greater than the time for tab B. So the difference, which is time for tab A minus time for tab B, will be equals to 5. Then we substitute the expressions that we have formed for the time for tab A and tab B respectively. So which is 9000 over X, then minus 9000 over X plus 5 equals 5 times is 60 because we want to change it into minutes. Alright, then group the two fractions together. We have 9000 times X plus 5 minus 9000X over X times X plus 5 equals 300. Expand the bracket, we have 9000x plus 45,000 minus 9000x over x squared plus 5x equals 300. Okay, so bring the x squared plus 5x to the right side. The numerator, we have 9000x minus 9000x. You cancel out, only left with 45,000. Okay, expand the bracket, we have 45,000 equals 300x squared plus 1500x. Okay, move the numbers at the left side to the right side. We get 0 equals 300x squared plus 1500x minus 45,000. Alright, so divide by 3 for both sides. I will have 0 equals, divide by 300. We have 0 equals x squared plus 5x minus 150. Okay, and hence shown. This is the equation that we want to show as requested by the question. Okay, so for D, now we can start to solve the equation x squared plus 5x minus 150 equal to 0. So we factorize, we have x minus 10 times x plus 15 equal to 0. So solve them separately, x minus 10 equal to 0 or x plus 15 equal to 0, which means x equal to 10 or x equals to negative 15. So for this case, I will have to reject negative value because x is the rate of the water as mentioned here, right? So it doesn't make sense to have a negative value. Okay, now we move on to E, state the rate of flow from tab A from tab B. So we know the X value already. So the rate of flow for tab A will be X, which is 10 liters per minute. Rate flow for tab B will be 10 plus 5, which is 15 liters per minute. Okay, now F. So the total rate flow is 10 plus 15 because both tab A and tab B are turned on together to fill the water. So the rate flow will increase by adding the rate flow for each tab. And we have 25 liters per minute. Hence, for the time will be the total volume of this tank is 9000 divided by the rate, which is 25, and we have 360 minutes, which is 6 hours. Okay, now you can try this last example yourself. Henry takes X minutes to assemble a plastic chair. A. Write down an expression in terms of X for the number of plastic chairs he makes in an hour. B. John takes 2 minutes longer to assemble a wooden chair. B. Write down an expression in terms of X for the number of wooden chairs he makes in an hour. Henry and John together make a total of 11 chairs in an hour. C. Form an equation and show that it reduces to 11x squared minus 98x minus 120 equals 0. D. Solve the equation and find the number of wooden chairs John makes in an hour. Okay, so you can pause the video and try to do it yourself. So here's the solution for A. Okay, the question says that Henry takes X minutes to assemble one plastic chair. Hence, X minutes to one plastic chair. So, how many plastic chairs he can make in an hour? So, 1 hour means 60 minutes is to Y plastic chair. So, this is a ratio question. We can form the fraction here, X over 1 equals 60 over Y. So, Y equals 60 over X. Next, for B, so John takes 2 minutes longer to assemble a wooden chair, which means X plus 2 minutes to one wooden chair. Okay, so I want to know the number of wooden chairs he can make in an hour. So 60 minutes is to Z wooden chair. Okay, so again, this is ratio. We can have X plus 2 over 1 equals 60 over Z. So Z equals 60 over X plus 2. So to form number C, to form an equation and show that it reduces to 11x squared minus 98x minus 120 equals to 0. So first we look at the question, right? They tell us that the number of wooden chairs, they work together and make a total of 11 chairs in an hour. So 60 over x plus 60 over x plus 2 equals to 11. So combine them together, right? Because 60 over x is the rate for the first guy. 60 over x plus 2 is the rate for John. Alright, so they work together, then we can add the rates together. So we have 60 times x plus 2 plus 60x over x times x plus 2 equals to 11. Expand the bracket, we have 60x plus 120 plus 60x over x squared plus 2x equals 11. Okay, move the bottom, the denominator to the right side and simplify the numerator. We have 120x plus 120 equals 11 times x squared plus 2x. Expand the bracket, this is what I get, and I move everything to the right side so that the x squared term is positive. So I will get 0 equals 11x squared minus 98x minus 120. So hence I have shown that the equation can be reduced to this form. Okay, now the next one, D. Solve the equation and find the number of wooden chairs John make in an hour. Okay, so I have to solve this equation. 0 equals 11x squared minus 98x minus 120. So factorize. So 11x squared is x times 11x. Then negative 120 is negative 10 times plus 12 here. So solve them separately. X minus 10 equals 0, or 11x plus 12 equals to 0. Hence x is equal to 10, or x is negative 12 over 11. So we will have to reject this because again x is for the number of plastic chairs. Okay, so it doesn't make sense to have a negative and a fraction. So now write down the answer the question. Number of chairs John makes in an hour. So which is Z equals 60 over x plus 2. Consider the value 60 over 10 plus 2, which is 5 chairs.